I saw your budget that you put out recently, and you're delivering sort of on those promises too with your new tax brackets, and you're
Mhm.
really walking this talk of progressive values, which is refreshing. It's nice to see with the current state of government right now. With working with other governors, how have you been working with your colleagues sort of to like push back against Trump?
For me, to be frank, it's not necessarily about pushing back against Trump. It's fixing problems that Delawareans face every day, whether the people support Trump or not. It's about protecting vulnerable communities who, quite frankly, not all of whom, but many of whom are in vulnerable situations. You take something like undocumented immigrants or some documented legal immigrants, they have been under threat for years. It's not a new thing, but now they're particularly under threat, and making sure that we protect people and that we create the jobs of tomorrow, that we're investing in our schools and doing things that are often bipartisan. I don't know if they are today, but removing barriers to the construction of affordable housing to make sure the crisis in affordability that's devastating communities across our state. So that's really what we're focused on. Sometimes, occasionally, that puts us in a space where we can collaborate with the Trump administration. Other times, it finds us in direct conflict. And I'm kind of indifferent whether we're in conflict or collaborating. We have our heads down and are trying to deliver. I actually had dinner with Governor Shapiro last night, and we were talking about that, how just with all the noise out there, what we're trying to do is put our heads down and just deliver based on the basic American values in which we both were raised.
Yeah, absolutely. And right now you've been in the headlines sort of teetering a line right now. I think that your voters have sort of seen this sort of the kind of not really a betrayal where they say that you have sort of given into like billionaires in a sense with SB 21. Can you speak
Did
a little
I
bit
have?
with with SB 21? I've seen a lot of your voters and the way media has sort of framed it as because you are working with the lawmakers who previously worked with Zuckerberg and worked with Musk, that you were sort of giving into billionaires who were working with Trump.
Have you been to Delaware Chancery Court before?
I have not, no.
When you go to Delaware Chancery Court, what you'll see, not with 100% of the cases, but certainly any of these high profile business cases that you or many others report on, what actually is happening is there are millionaires and often billionaires on both sides. And with Senate Bill 21, similarly, there were millionaires and billionaires on both sides. What you had is one group that was willing to spend a lot of money to try to stop Senate Bill 21. And one group, the way they tried to do that was by saying that I had some relationship that actually doesn't exist. But they said I had some sort of relationship with billionaires and I sat in some back room and cooked this whole thing up, which anybody that does a little bit of research, we'll see that that's absolutely false. There were 26 lawyers from 12 different Delaware law firms 12 law firms that represent tens of thousands of clients who may support Senate Bill 21 and clients who oppose Senate Bill 21. If they look at me and people outside Delaware, I've gotten some stuff. People have shown me some funny things on our Instagram account saying I'm with the billionaires. Well, that doesn't make sense. I just proposed the most progressive tax structure probably in the history of the state, standing up and saying wealthy people need to pay their fair share. What's happening is you have a situation about preserving the clarity, the predictability, and the fairness of Delaware's corporate franchise that I strongly believe in. That is not really partisan. It's not really a left-right thing. Senate Bill 21 passed the Senate bipartisan unanimously. It passed the House bipartisan with over 80% support. And I think there are a lot of people in the media a little bit, but mostly moneyed interests who are trying to stop it, who are trying to turn it into this left right thing that it really isn't. we as an American, I look at what's going on. Forget about Senate Bill 21. Forget about the Delaware Chancery Court. You have a serious situation right now. We're on the backs of Citizen United, which might be the worst uh, court decision in American history. You have a single billionaire, maybe a group, but a single billionaire who has effectively bought a large percentage, if not all, of our federal government with several $100 million. He's now slashing and cutting healthcare in my community, slashing and cutting educational services, protection for disabled kids to get schools, veterans to get jobs. That's the real issue. And I think the opponents of Senate Bill 21 looked and said, oh, this is a blue state. We can spend millions of dollars and try to make it this billionaire thing. But when you look at the facts, it's not that at all. We have a serious problem in our country, totally unrelated to anything Senate Bill 21, totally unrelated to anything Delaware Chancery Court. With respect to Senate Bill 21, my job is to make sure we're continuing to provide law and a court system that's clear, that's fair, that's predictable for business disputes around the world.
Yeah. I think that the message that you have is very, very true to progressive values. And, I think that it really, really speaks to a lot of what leftist voters are really looking for right now, or what leftist voters are really looking for is this strong message of, someone to fight up, stand up, sort of kind of like what Cory Booker did yesterday. What do you think? I do want to talk to you about Liberation Day a little bit, but I also want to talk to you about uh, what you think the party needs to win back this like confidence of like the left and like more centrist voters.
I just proposed revision to our tax code that gives a tax reduction to 92% of Delawareans. I'm a progressive guy. I'm not big on tax cuts, but we can say, hey, in Delaware right now, today, if your family makes $70,000 in taxable income and somebody else's family makes $70 million in taxable income, those two families are paying the same tax rates. That's not right. I think the first thing is just rolling up our sleeves, talking truth to people about the inequities in our community. But it's not just that. It's taking those tax resources and really delivering in efficient ways. I think that the federal government right now the Trump administration is promoting this idea that government just doesn't work. So let's take a chainsaw and let's destroy it. That's not how things work. I think what Americans want is they actually want a government that works. I bet you, if Americans know that you're paying your tax bill and you're getting the best schools in the world for those taxes, Americans will pay because there will be a return to all of us. If we know we're paying for the highest quality health care, Americans will pay. I think what's happening is that a lot of Americans are dissatisfied. My wife's an emergency room doctor. You go to the emergency room, the wait time is 10 hours. 11 hours and it's not just now because my wife has worked, we talk about a lot. There are huge backups in the healthcare system. Probably 60% of the people in the emergency room at any given time shouldn't be there. If we had a functional healthcare system, they wouldn't be there. But our systems are broken. Out of Washington now, they're saying, let's just take a chainsaw to it all, but that's going to make it worse, not better. And I think whatever the headlines are today or tomorrow or next week, I think ultimately Cory Booker has it right that as long as we focus on these systems, as long as we stand up and say, this is wrong, it's the wrong direction, let's go in the right direction where we don't just invest nilly-willy, but we're smart and strategic about our investments in Americans' future. I think that's ultimately what's going to win the country and win for the Democratic Party.
Yeah. Real quick, it's a heated time right now. It's Liberation Day. How how are you feeling about that? What's going on in your mind about that?
I don't know. The joke is that Liberation Day, everybody woke up and said it's Liberation Day. What does it mean? We're expecting the largest tax increase on every American in American history by a Republican administration. Who would have thought that? Um, but now Liberation Day, I guess, is becoming Liberation Night, at least on the East Coast, because I haven't heard anything yet. We're kind of we got to be really careful, Alex, because one thing, I don't know if you've seen the movie Don't Look Up, but what's happening is there are all these like Liberation Day and there are all these like fancy headline stuff. It's almost like we're in The Apprentice. We're in like this game show where there's constant like exciting, great headlines, and Americans are just lurching from one headline to the next. But meanwhile, our education system is getting destroyed. Our healthcare systems are getting worse and worse. Housing affordability in Delaware, and we talked about it with Governor Shapiro yesterday in the greater Philadelphia area, is worse than it's been in a generation. We need to be fixing these, not just grabbing headlines and saying Liberation Day and all this stuff. We need to be talking about what are the real fixes to make sure we're building housing that's affordable for people. We're delivering healthcare that's really high quality and accessible and affordable to everyone. And we have the best schools in the world. That's what I'm focused on. I think that's what a lot of Democratic governors are going to continue to be focused on.
Yeah, absolutely. Governor Mayer, thank you so much for speaking with me today. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks, Alex. I enjoy San Francisco. It ain't that bad.
Thank you so much.
All
All
right.
right. Bye,
Take
guys.
care.